Well, howdy, everybody. I'm Clay.
Good morning. I'm Lloyd.
And this is Iron Sharpening Iron with the Kaler Boys.
Well, Today
is the 14th
March
of March
14th. Yep.
2024. It's literally the middle of March. That doesn't make a bit of sense. Yesterday was January.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you.
And the 17th is the selection show for March Madness.
Yeah.
Be 24/7 basketball for a little while during the first part of that tournament.
Do you remember when we were kids and all the old men would sit around and talk about how fast time goes by, and we're like, they're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, because we'd wait for Christmas. It'd take 3 years for Christmas to get here.
Yeah.
Your birthday's next week. Well, that's 7 weeks away.
Right.
It is. Each day was a week.
When you're a kid, man, it just a year seemed like 5. And now it just flies by.
I witnessed the transition of that kid adult thing.
Yeah.
Just the other day, my grandson's in Japan. Mm-hmm. He's in Tokyo.
Oh, is he over there?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Oh, he sent me pictures, and he's just loving it. He's like, it's so. But he's a little worried. He's going to be gone from his girl for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we talked about time.
We talked to him about not coming home with the Japanese wife.
Yeah. I think Miss Natalie's got a hold of him.
Good.
She is an absolute darling.
Good.
She is just as sweet as diabetes. You can't help but like this young lady.
Yeah.
As soon as you meet her, I'd say it took me about 5 seconds to like her.
Yeah.
About another second or two to love her, and then I had to. Honestly, in about 10 minutes, I was more on her side than I was my grandson's.
That's funny.
Yes, she done moved up a spot. It's hilarious. My granddaughter has a young man in her life, and I keep saying she's like, wanting to hear that I like him, and I can't say that yet. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Well, I almost don't. Well, I don't hate him.
That's a moving right direction.
And it is.
Yeah.
It is.
You haven't looked at him through a rifle scope one time.
Not lately. Not lately, and nobody ever saw me do it.
That's right.
So I don't even know what you're talking about. Why'd you bring that up?
Yeah. No.
I don't even have it. What? A rifle what?
Uh-huh. Yeah, what?
Wait a minute. We need to hide this.
What's the old joke when somebody says, you tell somebody, man, I miss you, but my aim is improving.
Yeah.
How about we do a scripture of the day, man?
Absolutely.
We got a kind of a theme that we talked about that we're going to be talking about today, and it's something that I have been on for a while. 2 years ago, I reckon it was, on Father's Day, I preached a message on biblical masculinity. And in that message, I used David and Goliath as my launch pad. And
somebody didn't like you preaching that message that day.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. And one of the things that I brought up about biblical masculinity is that we need men who are willing to stand up for the truth, regardless of what it may cost. And I went through a couple of things. Abortion is murder. There are only 2 genders, and you are the gender you were born with.
I heard a guy last night. He said that trans racism, I think I'm saying that correctly. No, hear me out. Hear me out. This guy,
I'm still laughing, but
absolutely made sense. He really did. He said trans racism is more in reality than transgenderism. Transgenderism, he says, binary. You have 2.
Yeah.
You have 2 choices.
Yeah.
And you ever notice that at a gender reveal?
It's not a choice.
Well, no, you have 2. Yeah. It's a choice of what you wanted, I guess. I guess that's where I'm coming from.
My point is,
what do you want?
Are the gender that you were born
Right. But it's a choice as far as what are we gonna have, honey? A boy or a girl? I really like a boy. There's 2 genders, and like when you go buy your gender reveal goodie, it doesn't come in blue, pink, and green 17 and different other colors.
Purple,
you have 2 choices. It's 2 choices to pick. What is your baby? You pick which one is your baby.
Right.
But he said, trans racism, if you think about it, he said, who in the world is pure white?
True.
Who's pure black?
True.
Who's pure Hispanic? Who's pure anything? He said, Barack Obama, perfect example. He said, is he a black man or is he a white man? He said, our social construct says he's black.
Because he has those features.
But he's just as much white as he is black.
Right. But he's America's first black president.
I've heard Candace Owens say that she's biracial also.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I'm as much white as I am black. She said, but on college applications, you're absolutely right. I'm putting down black because affirmative action gives me a leg up.
Right.
And so you could argue that it actually is a thing.
Yeah.
And there's nobody pure. Who's a pure? I don't know what is a pure
blood.
Pure blood white. What is that? Like I don't know. Nordic.
The royal family.
The Nordic or the Viking or
well, the royal family with all their inbreeding.
Right. And then who would be a pure black race? I guess somebody directly from Africa with that lineage. But even at this time, we've been around so long. What is pure?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I agree with the guy that trans racism is actually more of an argument and something to be said about than what's your mental condition.
Well, I'm German, Norwegian, Cherokee, and Apache.
Yeah.
I'm a mutt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And 90% of the world's population is mutt.
Yeah.
We're mutts. We're mutts.
So another thing that I said in that message, and this is where they shut us off. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, our church, we broadcast our services live on Facebook Live, and done that since I've been pastor. It wasn't a COVID thing. We've been doing it 5 years, and
well, you've got quite a following online. Too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't live here.
Yeah.
And enjoy your message, enjoy your service.
I got people in other countries.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So that's
good. So I said if Bruce Jenner gets his junk cut off, that doesn't make him a woman; it makes him an amputee.
That's right.
And Facebook shut us off for about 3 months.
Mama cat can have kittens in the oven, but don't make them biscuits.
That's right. And thankfully, I've got a very smart woman who was a part of our church. She's moved now. She's down in McKinney, but she figured out a workaround so that Facebook can't shut us off anymore.
Well, don't tell no details.
No, I'm not going to. So anyways, biblical masculinity is something that I have been really big on. As a matter of fact, it's not about biblical masculinity, but John Lovell's book, The Warrior Poet Way. If you have not read that book, then shame on you. You need to read that book. It is just a really great book on traditional masculinity. John Lovell is a retired Ranger.
There's your key word.
Traditional.
Yeah.
John Lovell's a retired Army Ranger and just an all-around good guy. He's the founder of the Warrior Poet Society. And so I've been researching this, and we're going to talk about biblical masculinity today. And I've got kind of an atypical passage that we're going to come out of, but you're going to see the connection, all right? So we're in 2 Timothy. I love this book. 2 Timothy are the last recorded words of the Apostle Paul. He was executed after this letter was written. And so, it's almost like a dying declaration.
Right.
All right. And so he's writing to Timothy in chapter 1, and he says in verse 6, "Therefore I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of hands." Now listen to this. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind."
Amen.
Amen. God has not given
fear,
us
and I lean on that a lot.
Yeah,
I don't fear nothing.
I've seen that in you. I just
don't. There's no reason. There's no need.
Yeah, last night
doesn't help nothing.
Yeah, last night at church we were studying. We're in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and it's all about spiritual gifts. We were talking about the spiritual gift of faith and defining that spiritual gift. Now, every believer has faith. As a matter of fact, Scripture says that God has given to each one of us a measure of faith.
Right.
I have faith in Christ. I have faith in God. I have faith that He's going to get me through whatever I'm going through. But I don't have the spiritual gift of faith. And I used an example. When Jesus was walking on the water towards the disciples, and they thought He was a ghost, and He said, "I'm not a ghost, it's me." And Peter said, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come on." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water. I have faith in God. I don't know that I have enough faith that I would have got out of the boat.
Boy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
If there's another one standing out on that water and says, "Come here, I'm Jesus," I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. You bet you.
But
You bet you. What I've seen God pull our family through and
I know,
watch
man.
that stuff.
I know.
If I saw that, if I was, I'd have to. There'd be no other choice. One thing, I'm a pretty good swimmer. Second thing, if I don't make it, I know where I'm going.
That's true.
And for some reason, my mind has failed me. And
Right.
I hallucinated something, but I don't think so. And if I saw that, and I know you.
Yeah.
Now, neither one of us would jump up on the top of the bow and go, woohoo! Well, but we'd be like, oh, man, and we'd have to analyze and study in a minute. And, of course, neither one of us obey that unction of the Lord like we should. But it would get there. It would get there. It would get there. It would. And, oh, man, yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of things that could be defined as biblical masculinity. One comes out of Ephesians. You know, the Apostle Paul tells men to love their wives as Christ loved the church and was willing to give himself for them. That's one. That godly love. Something about that love, that agape love. You know, we've got a friend who's special, lives here in the community. I'm not going to call him out by name. And he has always talked to me about wanting to be a Bible teacher. And my response to him is, buddy, you can't give away something you don't have. You have to have the knowledge before you can give it away.
Yeah, his heart is all there.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, so that agape love, you know, the only people who have received the agape love from God, agape is the Greek word that's translated love, and it's that unconditional godly love. The only people that have ever received that are the ones that have trusted in the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. You can't give love that you haven't received.
Right.
But once you receive it, once you've trusted in the gospel, and you're the recipient of that love of God, you have it to give.
Yes, you have that example of.
And the amazing thing about it is it's the one thing, unlike money or water or food, the more you give away, the more you have.
Yes.
It's cumulative. And so that's one aspect of biblical masculinity. Another one comes out of the book of Joshua. When God told Joshua to be of good courage, courage is a sign of biblical masculinity.
Yeah, courage is being scared but standing in the face anyway.
Yeah, I love the way John Wayne described courage. He said, John Wayne said, courage is not a lack of fear; it's being scared to death but moving forward anyway.
That's it.
Yeah,
being scared but standing in the face of your enemy or whatever is afraid of, because you have that toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
toxic is what they call it now.
That's right.
And it's that stand in front of my wife, and no matter what it is, I will get between me and my wife, me and my kids, me and my grandkids, me and my family.
In some instances, a total stranger.
Yeah,
you know,
and you just, society is attacking that so bad.
Oh yeah,
look at our military.
Oh man,
we have a transgender spokesperson for our military.
I know.
And he gets up there and tries very hard to sound and look like a woman.
And it don't work.
Oh, God, no.
It don't work.
I could try very hard to sound and look like Celine Dion.
Right.
And I would have the same success. Yeah. Picture this in a nice evening dress.
Yeah, there you go. No, thank you. That is
that's disturbing.
I would have to.
So is that. That's very disturbing.
Bleach in my eye drops.
And he wants to stand up there, and part of the thing he's saying is how recruitment is low, and how because
crazy.
Our nation could be in danger, and we need to be more inclusive and get more trans people in our military.
Did you hear that West Point has removed the words courage, honor, and country from their mission statement?
No.
Yep, they sure did. Sure did. Honor, courage, and country came out of a speech from General Douglas MacArthur back in the 1940s, and they put it in their mission statement back then, and now they have removed it.
Wow.
Because why? What's wrong with courage and honor and country?
Yeah. Part of the core things and reason
I guess it's non-inclusive.
of why I joined the military.
Yeah.
Those 3 words.
Yeah.
That was part of that reason.
Yeah.
Was those 3 words, and was proud of those 3 words.
Man, first time you put on that uniform,
dude,
and you looked in the mirror.
Man, I remember the first time I came home in my dress.
Yeah.
And I was.
Class A's.
Oh, man. I was sporting.
I remember my grandpa told me that I looked like Oliver North.
Yeah, I was proud.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
And I was a goofy little 18-year-old boy.
Yeah.
19-year-old boy.
Yeah.
But dude, I was a full-grown man standing there.
That's right.
I was proud. I looked in that mirror and was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And especially after boot camp, when them arms are cut, and you got pecs for the first time.
Oh, I know. I was in killer shape. God, I left AIT. When I left Aberdeen Proving Ground, I was in
just ripped,
absolute best shape of my life.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I've never been back there since. I maintained that shape for a while in the Army, but once you get out, it kind of goes away.
Well, even when you get to permanent party, I mean, you're not building anything. You're just maintaining and getting a little softer.
And some of that at permanent party was peer pressure from a first sergeant. He wanted a maintenance group that was well fit and could run the miles.
There you go.
And he was a runner.
God, man.
That man was 97 years old and lied for the last 30 years about his birthday. So I don't know what that makes him.
Right.
And he would get out there and just run us young guys in the ground. And we're wearing, this is fun runs. Mm-hmm. It's not, we don't wear your uniform.
Right.
And you can, if you want to wear your BDUs and your boots, you can, because that's what he wore.
Yeah.
Every time he ran.
Right.
His polished to the T
boots,
jump boots.
Yeah.
And perfectly formed and fitted and creased up BDUs. That man looked sharp. And he get done and he's sweating.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, anybody ready to go again? We're dying. No. We are dying.
Gasping. So another aspect of biblical masculinity we find in when Paul is writing to Timothy, and I always love this passage, and I love what it doesn't say. Paul tells Timothy, be strong in the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, what I love that it doesn't say, I love that Paul didn't say, Timothy, be strong, period.
Right.
He didn't say that. He said, be strong in Christ. And that's because God knows us. He knows our strength. I've always said that one of the biggest lies ever foisted on the American people is the lie of willpower. And if you question that, how many of you, put it in the comments, how many of you have ever tried to stop something on your own or tried to start something on your own?
Or made that dumb New Year's Day resolution that I'm going to go to the gym and you pay,
every day.
You pay your little money and how many at 2 months said, man, cancel that.
I'm telling you.
That rental there because we're not going anymore.
I heard a comedian say.
And I'm guilty of that. As it took me years to quit smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
I quit a gazillion times.
Yeah.
I quit and started more times than a whole town full of people.
Right. I heard a comedian, he said he bought a gym membership 3 months ago. It hadn't done him a bit of good. He said, maybe I should go inside.
Yeah.
So strength. So far we're talking about strength and we're talking about courage. We're talking about faith. Another aspect of biblical masculinity, and this was my launching pad for my message, is the story of David and Goliath. You got this teenager, this little guy. He's little.
He was little.
He's little. Redhead at that. He's a ginger. I mean, come on. They say gingers have no soul. If there's anyone,
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that? If there are any redheads watching, I would apologize, but I'm telling the truth, so I'm not going to. Anyway, David goes to the battle to the battle lines to take food to his brothers, and while he's there, he finds the armies of Israel in hiding,
scared,
and out in the valley at a certain time of the day, this giant comes out, this beast
Big critter.
of a man,
Big critter,
and he is defaming the name of God. That's what he was doing. And David is looking at the soldiers and said, "Y'all going to do anything about this?" And they're like, "No, look at him.
My name's Wes, and I ain't in that mess."
Yeah, and so David took it upon himself, and he went to King Saul, and it's kind of funny. It's a comical story. Saul puts his armor on David. Well, David's a little bitty dude, and Saul's a great big dude, and David's just swimming in the armor.
It's like your grandson putting on your hunting boots.
Yeah, can barely pick up the sword. And David's like, "No, this isn't going to work. I'm going to go with what I know." And he had a sling. Now, a lot of people say slingshot. It wasn't a slingshot. It was a sling.
It was a sling, yeah.
And here's the amazing thing. This tells you about the faith of David. He's got his sling in his hand, and he goes walking out to the battlefield to meet this giant. He didn't even have any rocks in his pocket. He picked up rocks along the way, knowing that God was going to provide. And most people, I'm sure, know the story. David told Goliath, "I am here in the name of the God of the armies of Israel. The very God that you've been defaming and profaning, I'm here in his name." And he slew the giant. He one shot with that sling knocked him out. Then he took the giant's own sword, cut his head off, and lifted it up.
Well, you got to finish the job.
Yeah, you got to finish the job.
That one little old rock wasn't going to finish it.
Yeah.
The giant would have woke up mad.
Right. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
He'd have been angry.
And there's some other aspects of biblical masculinity that you can find throughout Scripture, but I think we got enough as a launching point to talk about what's going on.
Define the biblical meaning of meek.
Meek, yes.
The meek shall inherit the earth. Does that mean that we have to be the ones that cower in the corner?
Right, like the armies of Israel?
Oh, wait a minute. Don't, mister. Please.
I heard a preacher a long time ago said that meekness is not weakness. Jordan Peterson had one of the best definitions of meekness that I ever heard, and he got it from the Greek. The Greek word that is translated meek in the New Testament. There's two different ways that he described it, and both of them are brilliant. One of them is a restrained war horse.
Yeah.
This powerful beast that is under control. The other way that he described it is a man who has a sword, knows how to use it, but keeps it in its sheath.
Yes, chooses to restrain.
There's an old saying amongst us veterans, and it says, "Though I choose not to exercise violence, that doesn't mean I've forgotten how."
That's right.
And that's meekness.
Yes. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact,
I would rather be a warrior in the field farming than a farmer at war fighting.
Absolutely.
And that's that masculinity.
Yeah.
And you see society on a extreme attack on anything that's masculine.
Oh, yeah.
Anything. They teach it in our school. Clay, I saw there's a school that just got busted, and these people ought to go to jail, and they won't. They got caught. And these parents called them out in the school board. Nothing's going to happen. This is child abuse. Hands down, child abuse. This school is from little bitty kids, like kindergarten up through the middle school. And they have different clubs. They got the chess club, and they got a tennis club, and they got a whatever.
Yeah.
And each one of these clubs, there's requirements. You first off, you have to send a note home to mom and dad, and mom and dad, this is
extracurricular.
So you sign up. We did the same thing in school. We signed up for all kind of stuff. A lot of stuff mom and dad said no. Some stuff that we didn't sign up for. That's just the way that was. Well, and there's a newsletter in this particular school. Now, we didn't have one of them when we was a kid. If we did, I don't know about it because I didn't read it.
Right.
But this newsletter, it's got like all the activities of these different clubs. Mm-hmm. And it's all for everybody to see. And it's all like right there, and see what the clubs are doing and what we did last week and what our future is going to be for next week and what we got planned coming up. Well, there's one club, and it chose to meet only at lunch with no note to mom and dad and no letter in the news deal. And it's a transgender club for 3- and 4-year-olds, and they're discussing sex. And they said, this is what the kids are told, that it's a club for boys that crush boys and girls that crush on girls.
Oh my goodness!
They're teaching this at 3 and 4 years old, dude.
Absolutely
At 3
disgusting.
and 4 years old, they got absolute attack on that child. That child doesn't know how to process this.
Right.
Me and you sit here and go, "We're appalled. This is horrible."
It's grooming. It's grooming.
They're introduced lots of colors and games and fun times and this, that, and the other. And this child has no idea the indoctrination he's going through.
Right. You remember Kindergarten Cop, that little boy that looked at Arnold Schwarzenegger and said, "Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina."
Yeah. And that kid knew right then.
Yeah.
And you know,
it's amazing to me.
And it's dude, it is absolute attack. And you know, they're trying to ban the TikTok again.
Oh yeah, they sure are.
I don't know who he was. I have no idea who's the creator, content maker, creator, whatever they call him. He was on there, and he said I think I know why. And he said there's a trend, and it's happened in the last year or so, and it's young men that are listening to this generation of men, and a lot of them were liberals,
right?
And they have come over to this conservative side, and he said, then he started naming them, and Joe Rogan, the conservative twins, Jordan Peterson, Officer Tatum, and these young kids, these young men, especially, and it's both black and white men and Hispanic men, they gravitate towards these. They're very popular with this with this
because
group.
These are men,
and these men are teaching through these different apps and social media about being a man. And he said that's one of the things, that another way to attack anything that looks like traditional manhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything.
And you know, you've said this many times, but our society absolutely despises toxic masculinity until their house is on fire and the firefighters show up, or until they need to call 911.
When some crackhead is kicking their door in,
they want to cowering in
their they're cowering in their closet because all they have for defense is a cell phone.
Right.
And you know, the danger is seconds away, and the help is minutes away.
Right. And they want that toxic man there right now.
Right now. And
with his gun.
You can't. Oh, yeah. Bring all the guns. And all your buddies.
That's right.
The same buddies we wanted to defund last week. Bring them all.
Dude, Pittsburgh police.
Oh,
my goodness. The chief of police of Pittsburgh police just came out at a news conference and said from now on, the Pittsburgh Police Department is not going to respond to any calls unless it is ongoing, and it has to be a violent felony.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're on your own.
No, there's a new automated telephone where you do your report. You're doing your report your own self.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get a W-2 from y'all.
He also said that during the overnight hours,
20 cops.
20 cops for the entire city. Holy crap.
I don't know how many people are in Pittsburgh.
A lot.
I think he said 600 and some thousand.
A whole lot more than Burke Burnett.
But 20 cops?
Yeah.
How many patrol Wichita Falls?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, WFPD's 30 spots down right now. They have 30 vacancies.
Still, how many? I mean,
right.
I bet you there's more than 20.
I bet there is.
And we don't have near the population of Pittsburgh.
That is absolutely insane.
A reporter from Pittsburgh commented and said, "This is the closest to the purge we're going to see."
Yeah.
He said, "What is going to stop the criminals?
People are going to die in the streets as a result of it."
And from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. or something like that is like the crazy time. It's like really.
I wonder.
You would be better off, in my opinion, to not patrol so much during the day. Right. More crime's going to happen at night.
It always does. You know, when I was a cop, I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Never had a dull moment.
Yeah.
There's always something going on. Here's another question I have. I wonder how easy it is for a law-abiding citizen in Pittsburgh to get a gun and to carry a gun.
I know Pittsburgh is a crazy state, dude. It's
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I wonder what their gun laws are. Just nuts, man. You know,
gun laws in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
See what you come up with. Do they have concealed carry? Do they have constitutional carry? I bet they don't have constitutional carry.
Now the way they're saying it. Okay, that's stupid. It says it's legal to carry a standard firearm in the open in Pittsburgh. I don't know what a standard.
Yeah, I don't either.
However, to conceal carry, you must have a license and be at least 21 years of age, and you may not. This is unbelievably unconstitutional. You may not carry an assault rifle. What is an assault rifle? What
It's
is
a
that?
made-up term.
Man, I mean, if I can have an assault stick.
Well, now, wait a
if you
minute.
don't believe me, I can walk outside, get a stick, and come in here and go to whacking you in your head.
Right.
They'll call that assault.
No.
Is that an assault stick?
Now, wait a minute. Assault rifle, AR-15. Doesn't that stand for assault rifle 15?
Yeah.
Doesn't stand
And
for
it says-
Armalite, does it?
Assault rifle or large magazine weapon.
Oh my God.
What is that? Is that
Standard capacity magazine?
What is that? Perspective. That's perspective. I mean, there are magazines that I can buy for a Glock that holds 75 rounds.
Yeah. Well,
same
Glock.
Glock.
That 100-round drum.
The same Glock I can put a 10-round magazine in.
If you're in California.
So what's I mean, that's so
I'm
subjective.
so grateful that I live in the great state of Texas.
I'm gonna tell you what though, man. There's a guy on social media, and I'm with him. He's like, I live in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm a United States citizen.
Yeah.
He said, I'm a veteran of our military of this United States. He said, and I'm carrying anywhere I damn well please.
Yeah. It is.
I don't care.
Yeah.
He said, I don't care.
It is. We're at the point where civil disobedience makes sense.
Well, we've got to get. There has to be a line in the sand. Why it didn't get drawn in the sand where they were forcing vaccines on us, I don't know.
Or locking us down.
Or censoring
shutting down
us.
schools.
Censoring us, you know.
Yeah. And that brings us right back to our topic of biblical masculinity, man. We need men that are willing to stand up. And
now
where are they?
If you try to stand up now, you get canceled. And men need to put we are so worried about how we're going to pay our bills next month. And dude, I'm with everybody else. I know I got to eat and pay our bills.
Yeah.
I've got a wife that depends on me.
Yeah, you do.
And she needs me to create income.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, she's going to go hungry.
Right.
And I know that. And
I'm not accepting.
I'm not ever letting that happen.
Right.
But I am not going to keep a job because and sacrifice what I believe in.
Right.
If my boss come up to me, which would absolutely not happen, my boss come up to me and said, I can't mention Christ, or I can't talk about this, or I can't wear a cross, or you know what, man? You know what I can do? I can apply it other places.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know. All right. We're so worried about our worldly. And if men stand up, they get canceled. Men stand up, they get fired. If you say anything about the woke agenda, it's a career ruiner.
I had a neat conversation with a young Hispanic man yesterday. That property that we work out there at Electra.
Yeah.
I was out there, and this guy, he's with the camera company that we put cameras out there.
Right.
He was out there adjusting cameras, and we got to talking, and he brought it up, and I grinned from ear to ear. He brought up, we talked about toxic masculinity, we talked about the border, we talked about all of this stuff. He says, dude, I'm Mexican and I want the border closed. And
it just makes sense.
Yeah.
We have got the dregs of all these countries coming in.
Well,
and it's a sad, horrible situation.
It has come out that Venezuela is literally emptying out their prisons
and their crazy
and their mental institutions and sending them here.
They've already sent a bunch of them here.
Absolutely.
And now we have this massive amount of crime happening, and it's committed by a bunch of illegal migrants. And then Biden gets on there
and apologizes
to the migrants, and still has not said nothing to that family.
Donald Trump went and met with them.
Yes.
And
the whole Riley family.
There's a picture of him kissing her sister on the cheek.
Dude, the whole Riley family met with him. It was his genuine whole heart.
Yeah.
And you know that man, you could see
Biden
in his face.
Pronounce her name right.
Oh, he called her the coach. Lincoln Riley is a coach.
Yeah. So I'm talking to this young guy, and
Lincoln Riley.
I told him about me teaching and preaching on biblical masculinity. He says, you got to be careful. They're going to cancel you. And I had the opportunity to talk to him about that. I said, you know what? Here's the thing. You can't cancel somebody who doesn't care.
Yeah. I
don't look, we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube is owned by Google. Google is a part of the problem.
Sure.
Now they can and they do, by the way, suppress us.
You was telling me that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know. Yeah, we're being suppressed. I guess we matter.
Looking at the analytics, they are shadow banning us, but they can't cancel us. And if they shut this channel off, okay, we'll find something else, Rumble or something else.
Well,
we'll keep going.
You say that this ban on TikTok. Have you really heard about this? It's more than just a ban on TikTok. It is a ban on anything that is a social media, whatever, that can spread disinformation
and have an influence on elections.
Influence election, or is and they're saying this is owned by China. You know, there was a guy that broke it down. You know, part of it's owned by China. Part of a whole lot of things around here are owned by China, like farmland. Let's think about that.
Let's talk about that.
But like 80% of TikTok is not owned by China. It's owned by European countries, some Americans, but a lot of people in Europe, a lot of European influence in that. And it to me, it's got nothing to do with China. You know, because if it had something to do with China, we'd have shot them spy balloons down.
Yeah.
They're okay. We could send them over here. If it had something to do with China, we would quit getting all of our electronics.
Yeah. Now, that's what I was about to bring up. We're worried about TikTok because it's a Chinese company, but the very phone that you're watching your TikTok on was made in China. You don't think they have a back door into your phone?
We talked about last week the key components in their transformers, our cars, our trains,
our electrical grid
are all Chinese.
Yeah.
Made. And we're buying them from China. We're like, hey, can you make this for us?
Our antibiotics.
Yeah, our medicine, a lot of our food, dude. Some food. And we're worried about a TikTok.
I know.
See, I know what the problem is. The problem is they don't want us communicating because there's, you know what else I see on there? I see a huge number of black men getting on there and saying white folks. And when they start out like that, you kind of at first you're like, oh, come on. But you have to. You have to say it because you can't say, okay, other men, because immediately our social whatever will say, well, he's just talking to black men because he can't talk to white people. We've lost that communication. Yeah. But they'll get on there and start out that, you know, white folks, listen to me. Can't we be friends? Do you not want the same thing I want in this life?
That's right.
Do you not care about the same thing? You know what? We all do.
Yeah.
We do care about the same thing.
We do.
And we communicate, and they don't like it. Yeah. We also get news that they can't suppress. I've got a guy that I meet every other Friday. Tomorrow's my meet day with Richard. We have breakfast. And I talk to him about news that I'm not getting off of TikTok that some guy is saying, hey, did you hear what happened in, Tupelo, Mississippi? Well, here's what went on. And it's a big scandal. And I'm going, oh, my God, that's the truth.
Right.
I'm watching congressional hearings for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm watching. It's like you're live in the hearing.
Yeah.
And you're watching the comments and the response, the questions, the answers. You're watching the whole thing happen and unfold. And then I have hours to do that.
Yeah.
And I like watching it. And they don't like you seeing and watching it.
No.
That's where you learn that all the Democrats voted against the bill to raise to increase the punishment for the child traffickers and child rapists. And all the Democrats in Congress voted against that. And you're like, what? The Lake and Riley bill that came out, it passed, but a big majority of the Democrats, and only the Democrats, voted against that. Why?
And it's not going to pass through the Senate.
No, it won't. And why? Why wouldn't it? Because for whatever reason, they don't. I don't know. You make up your own mind,
right?
I mean, if we were voting on dinner right now, and you said, well, how about a vote for bologna?
Yeah,
I'd say no. That's a no. That's a no from me.
Right.
Because I don't care for bologna. Right. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with bologna. I don't want to smell it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see. I don't care if I see it. But I don't like to smell it. I surely don't like it. It wouldn't bother me if you ate it. Go ahead. As long as I can have my pick,
Right.
And if we were having a vote for, a delicious salad, You would say no.
I'd be out. Yeah.
But if the vote came around and it was ribeye steaks and smoked sausage for all, you know, I mean,
we're both in.
Yeah, it'd be unanimous.
We have common ground.
And so you look at that, it just makes sense, common sense. So why would these Democrats vote against these bills to increase the punishment?
Right.
Unless they were vested in some way. I mean, I can only speculate.
Well, they're voting against the increase in punishment for child crimes. We'll call it that. They're voting against any measure to get a control on the illegal immigration that we've got in our country.
Any measure to
deporting anybody for any crime whatsoever.
Right. Any crime, you can just come.
Rapists, murderers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
They don't want to vote on that.
You got these DAs in these blue areas of our country that have the catch and release, no bail laws.
And you know what? That's pulling that masculinity right out of the police stations.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You have no authority.
Even back in my day, man, my memory, it ain't that great.
Right.
Our little sister would ask me when I came home, she'd ask me, do you remember so-and-so? No. Well,
no.
She'd say, you went to school with them. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Then later on, she'd be, hey, do you remember so-and-so? I was like, no. How do you not remember her? You dated her. And finally, she got to She finally got to the point, and she said, just lie to me. So she says, do you remember so-and-so? I was like, yeah. She says, really? I said, no.
Yeah. Well, when you lie, then they go, okay, remember that one day when me and you and him? I know. You lost me there.
So my memory. I still remember names of people that I arrested when I was a police officer because of the frequency that I arrested them. There was a guy, his name was Tracy Wright. That was his name, Tracy Wright. I remember his name. I will always remember his name.
Because you put it on so many reports.
I arrested this man, I guarantee you, 36 times.
That's a lot of times.
The last time I arrested him, his mom called 911. I went barging into the apartment, and he is standing over top of his 12-year-old sister, stomping on her chest because she wouldn't let him call his girlfriend. She was on the phone. And he's a big dude.
God.
And he kept getting out. And that was back then. That was back in the 90s. That was before George Soros had his claws in all the DA's offices.
Dude, and that's just
and it was demoralizing. It was absolutely demoralizing.
Well, and then what do you do when you run across that mom and that kid?
Yeah.
A week later,
right?
And he's out terrorizing again, and they're looking at you like, officer, can't you help us? What's wrong with you?
Right.
Why'd you had him?
Yeah.
You had him.
Yeah.
I saw you. You put him in handcuffs. You hauled him
drove away with him. Yeah.
And now, I mean, what the heck?
I mean,
you've done it 42 times.
Aside from taking him to the train station, I don't know what else to do.
Well, and it's all that. It just seems like it's just an absolute attack on anything that is traditional in our society.
You know what's interesting? Men
used to be men. There's an attack on that. Women used to be women.
That young Hispanic kid that I was talking to yesterday it is funny. He says, I don't go to the movies anymore. He says, you can't go see a modern movie without them trying to slide the gay agenda into the movie.
You can't see a modern TV show. You can't see.
He said he's never in his life seen so many men kissing.
A guy was just talking about on one of them little videos. He's talking about that one of the things that a dying or fixing to be extinct, he said, is a nuclear family in a commercial.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. And
it's an attack. It's anything that.
Sure.
But it's all an attack from the dark side, from the enemy, and it is anything that's in that Bible.
Right.
And that masculinity, it's got to go by the wayside. And then look at what's going on in our society. If the men were men of, we'll say, the greatest generation, the World War II men.
Right.
There ain't nobody pulling that business like they are here.
You're right.
The men that raised us.
Yes.
They're not allowing pornographic books to go in that school.
Absolutely
My father would have went up there and beat the hell out of somebody.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we'd have been going, oh, Dad, you're embarrassing us. And he wouldn't have cared.
When you have educational staff that are fighting to keep drag queens in school while they're also fighting to keep God out of school, we need
serious problem. That's
staff.
Right. And it's attacked.
There is a glimmer of hope on the horizon, though.
there's a lot of hope on the horizon. There really is. That guy was talking about last night. There's a huge group of young men that are saying no.
Think about one of the biggest movies out of Hollywood in the last couple of years. One of the biggest movies was Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
That was a testosterone film.
Yeah.
That was filled with masculinity. And I watched the movie. There was nothing in it questionable. Nothing in it.
I think me and Brandy watched it.
There wasn't one gay scene in it. There wasn't one dude dressed like a female in it. None of that. None of that existed. You know,
we got that that admiral.
Oh, Rachel Levine. His name's Richard, but he goes by Rachel.
I don't care what he goes by.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
that's embarrassing.
Oh, of course. And
how this is the top.
What do our enemies think?
Well, I'll tell you what they think.
They're laughing their butts off.
They're laughing their butt, dude. It's just like if me and you was back being kids again.
Yeah.
And there was a couple kids across town, and they wanted to fight the Cater Boys, and we went over there, and they were dressed in. They had blue hair and was wearing dresses.
Yeah.
With long nails.
Yeah.
And they said that they were going to be Z's, hers, and hers and he's. We'd have done that. We'd have laughed and said, "Are y'all really sure you want to go through this?"
Yeah, I don't think you do.
This is really not.
I think you might want to rethink that.
Yeah.
I heard
Nancy, you want to get back in the house. What you want to do?
I heard a comedian
take your skirt and tuck it back in there.
I heard a comedian say he said, well, he's not an actual legit comedian. He's a guy that does comedy on social media. You know, he's a conservative dude. And he said, that the woke generation wants to go to war with us. He says, they don't know which bathroom to use, and we have all the guns and ammunition.
Yeah.
It
will not work out.
Yeah, it's just not a good idea.
But, I truly believe that, well, I've said this before on the podcast, it's the kids that grew up after the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That the last of the ones that you called them latchkey kids. Yeah. The last of the ones that drank out of the water hose. That said they didn't have to come home until the street light was on. Right. You spent the whole day figuring it out.
Yeah.
You rolled through town and with a pocket full of matches.
And sometimes out in the country. But when we were out running around doing our thing in the summertime, if you got hungry, you either stole peaches off of somebody's tree, or you ate at whoever's house you happened to be playing at.
Right.
And it was that simple.
Yeah.
I
don't know how many times we'd be out riding bikes or playing football or something, and we'd all get hungry, and then some boy's mama would holler out, "You guys come over here and get something to eat," and have a whole pile of sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, yeah. How many times have we been out riding bikes or whatever, and one of our bikes breaks down? And we gotta figure it out. Figure it out.
Because our father we
didn't have a cell phone.
No, and our father didn't repair our bikes either.
No, he didn't.
Our father equipped us with enough knowledge to fix them ourselves.
And some tools.
And as soon as we knew how to fix a slightest bit of fix them ourselves, he left us alone.
Yeah.
And we figured it out.
That's right.
And if you wanted your bike to work, you maintained it.
That's right.
And we really liked to ride bikes because that was our only transportation besides old Pat and Ben.
That's right.
And Pat and Ben get tired, but not when you had a bike. But we had a little bike mechanic shop going.
Yeah.
We
tore that go-kart apart. I mean, just tore it completely down to the frame and put it back together, and it was twice as fast as it was when we started.
And then Mr. Jim taught us how to take the
restrictor plate.
Oh yeah, and he taught us how to take just taking the gasket out of the head.
Yeah,
made it just a little tighter and got you a little more compression.
Well, the first thing we did is we took the restrictor plate out of it, and then we did that. By the time we were done, that thing was screaming fast.
It would get it too, and that was all figured out on your own. And we're losing that fast. Well, we have been losing that fast.
Yeah, for 20 years, 30 years.
But these teenagers right now, there's a trend going that is leaning back towards that man thing. There's a trend going, and a lot of it is driven by social media. And I think that's part of the reason in that whole create this law that the president or whoever it might be has got that power to eliminate different, and that's just censorship.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is.
But they don't like the fact that Joe Rogan's got probably the biggest platform out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now,
without
hands
a question,
down,
without a question. Do you remember when they tried to cancel him and Spotify said no, you're not taking that money from us.
Yeah, and he's too big to cancel.
Yeah,
And he's got a huge following of young men.
Yeah.
And these young men are watching these podcasts, and he's watching these other people that are coming on there with different opinions than what we're being pushed and fed to through our schools, through our news, through our woke governors and our woke companies. And these kids aren't playing it. They're not liking it. And so there's hope.
Yeah. You know, I've often thought, both of us, we would not be the men we are today if it weren't for James Ludicky.
You're right.
You know?
But we wouldn't be, we'd have never met James Ludicky.
If it weren't for Lee T.
If Lee T would have been such a hard ass.
Yeah.
And that's just it. He was hard.
Exactly.
He was a hard man. And he was hard to please. And he was hard to deal with. And we weren't angels either.
No.
We were the very farthest thing from angels. We were tough to raise.
We were
very tough to raise. And he raised us with a very strong hand.
You know.
But you know, like I can't tell you how much I appreciate his strong hand.
I agree.
I have a work ethic because you said it a bazillion times because it was beat into me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lee T.
Yeah.
I show up to work 15, 20 minutes early because of my father.
He was flat out abusive.
No
way around it. No way. In today's day and age, he'd be in prison. I'm glad. I would rather have grown up with that abusive father than with the permissive parents that I see out here now.
No, you ain't kidding.
That are allowing their kids to run all over them, and
they're in charge.
Yeah,
they're absolutely in charge.
We were raised by a man and taught to be men.
Yes.
And here's the amazing thing about it: we were taught by him, both positively and negatively. Neither one of us are abusive.
No.
Neither one of us have ever abused
and
a
child.
I
attribute my kindness, I attribute my caring and the way I love my wife to my father.
Yeah.
Anybody can say what they want to say, but I absolutely truly believe that. Well, you know, me and Dad talked a lot about women. We talked a lot about girls. He may have not practiced what he preached, but he preached it good enough where it stuck.
Yeah, he did.
And you know, and then he grew up in a different time. You know, his glass got empty, and he would rattle it.
He sure would.
If I rattle my glass at home, Brandy giggles because it's a funny thing to us.
Yeah,
it's an actual, it's a running joke.
It's a joke.
And every once in a while, she'll look over and rattle her glass at me, and I'm jumping up, acting like it's the, you know, I got to get that. But it's a joke. But yeah. Our kids nowadays, they all get participation trophies.
Yep.
They're all special. They can all do. No, your kid is not special.
And a kid today gets a scraped knee or a bruise or a cut on their forehead, they're rushed to the hospital.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, we grew up in a generation, rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine.
You didn't even go, your parents ask you, what happened? What did you do? Oh, I don't know.
Hit barbed wire fence.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You just got half your knee skinned off, and you're not sure. Well, it could have been when I wrecked my bike, or when we was playing football in the asphalt driveway.
Yeah.
Could
have been either one of those.
Then me and Jimmy got in a fight today, but don't worry, we're all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the lip come from.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we didn't even.
But it's that comedian says, you know, in my day and age, we played with guns, knives, fireworks. You know what happened to the stupid ones? They didn't make it.
That's right. But we didn't have warning labels on pizza that said open box before you eat it.
Yeah. Exactly.
On fish hooks it said do not put in your mouth.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
Coffee that says caution hot.
So the question I've got. We're seeing the beginnings, the rumblings of a resurgence to biblical masculinity, if not biblical masculinity, at least traditional masculinity in our culture. My question is this: is it enough? Is it too little, too late, or are we on the right track? Because you and I are of the same mind that something is going to kick off.
Yes,
and it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
before November.
And, and we're not the only ones saying that. I see it. There's several people that are of our like minds, and they're all saying the same thing. Maybe it's just because we're all nuts,
right?
Maybe we're all just nuts.
Could be. Maybe we're hallucinating the crisis on the southern border and all of the terror cells that are coming across.
Oh, and you know our governor, the head of FBI,
Yeah.
the head of DOJ, and all the other little alphabet
Right.
entities
They're
there.
all saying the same thing.
They're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They're all saying that we're at a terror threat higher than what we were
before October 7th.
Yeah, or previous to 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can talk about 9/11 another day.
Yeah.
Old Rumsfeld and his trillions of dollars that just all gone.
I think, you know, we're getting ready to close this out. I know we're a little bit early, but I've got a hot date tonight or today.
Oh yeah,
I'm picking up two gorgeous women. Our mom and our aunt.
They're both crazy too.
Yeah, they are.
So that'll help the day go by.
Yeah, so I'm spending the day with our mom and our aunt who's in visiting from Baltimore or somewhere around that area. She's a Baltimorean. And it's just going to be a good day. I got to fight that Dallas traffic though. I'm not looking forward to that. I'd rather remove.
Where are you going again? Waxahachie?
No, we're going to Waco.
Waco.
Yeah, going down to Waco.
You know, you can take 281 and peter through a bunch of little towns.
Yeah,
and it's a really neat little drive. I used to take that drive quite often that's the way I went when I'd go visit Shauna.
Yeah,
and it's a pretty nice little drive. You drive through a bunch of little small areas, small towns, lots of scenic area.
Yeah,
and you don't run into a buttload of traffic. It's not nearly as quick,
right?
But it's a better drive.
Yeah.
Just kind of, you might want to investigate it.
Yeah.
Stay plumb out of that craziness.
Oh, I'm telling you, man.
And there's lots of little places down there that Mama and Estelle would kind of get a kick out of too. Peaster's a neat little town, and just you go through Jacksboro first, and just on down through that little 281 all the way. It'll take you all the way to Waco.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe
I'll
look at it.
It's a more pleasant drive.
Yeah.
Than it is
going through the metro.
I try to, we talk often about the idiots on the road.
Yeah.
Woo, they're big time in Dallas.
Oh, I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you. To the men that are watching, ladies, I'm not trying to be exclusive, not trying to exclude you, but this statement is to the men that are watching. Men, we need, those of us that are our generation, we need to begin to invest in the young men around us.
Yes.
The young men in our families, the young men in our churches. We need to mentor these young men and teach them what biblical masculinity looks like.
You know what we ought to do?
What's that?
How many young men you got in your church?
A dozen.
Do they all got good family?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, maybe not your church then, but we ought to, maybe through your church, teach young men that are 14, 15 years old, 16 years old.
Yeah.
How to change a tire.
How to change tires.
How to change your oil.
How to start a fire.
Just little things, little tiny things. How to check your oil and your fluids before you go somewhere.
Right.
What size tire do you have?
Yeah.
These things are not known, dude.
You're right.
We knew this stuff at 15 years old. At 14 years old, we was out there working on that stupid Ford truck that the Latkins we pushed down the road.
Yeah. The Stratfords.
But we got that thing running.
We did.
And I was 15, 16.
That was a 1965. 63.
With a flathead 8 in it.
Yep.
And it hadn't run for years. And we got that thing running.
That was a cool truck.
That was. I wish I had that now.
I'm telling you,
Lord, I wish that thing would be worth $50,000. I'd drive it every day, too.
I'm telling you.
But
man.
That would be I don't know, maybe, like I said, through your church, maybe
I'll tell you.
One Saturday a month.
Yeah.
Go up there and
just invite the community.
And,
the young men of the community.
Learn how to. I know some mechanics, and so do you.
Yeah.
And they would be all about it.
Right.
They'd be all about that.
Right. If you like what you see, we certainly invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that stuff. As my brother would say, clickety-click stuff.
We'll get Jance to bring out some of his toys.
Yeah.
Trucks. Get them kids interested in building something.
Yeah. We appreciate y'all as always, and
take time to be kind.
Yeah.
It's free. It's absolutely free. It's just
I was telling you about that young Mexican kid that I talked with yesterday. As soon as he left, I immediately called the company just to brag on him.
See, and that's
You
fantastic.
know, he told him he was good at his job and very professional. And I told him, I said, what you all need to do is give him a raise immediately.
Yeah,
because he deserves it.
And get behind him.
And let me tell you this:
push him into that company. Get behind that.
Yesterday, he left Waco, came to Electra, worked on my stuff, stayed there as long as he needed to. He was in no rush, and then he turned around and drove back to Houston.
That's a haul.
That's a haul.
That's a pretty good haul.
And he said, "Oh, I do it all the time."
You know, he's got responsibilities, and
he's got a work ethic.
That's it.
Yeah, folks, we love you guys. Again, we pray that we're a blessing to y'all in some way or another. And I hope that maybe today we got some of y'all thinking about this concept of biblical masculinity. We need to be men of the word, and that means we need to be men of courage, men of faith, men of strength.
And in order to have an opinion, you have to be willing to offend somebody.
That's right. That's right. And I do it every time I open my mouth.
And you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, that's the exact.
I don't care. My intention is not to offend you. I don't go out looking to offend somebody.
But I'm also not trying to avoid offending you.
Right.
That needs to be told.
That's not going to be. That's not going to be a roadblock or a deal breaker.
That's right.
I better not say that. I might upset Nancy over there. I don't care.
That's right. Folks, we got to go. I got to go pick up these ladies. God bless you guys, and Lord willing, we will see you next Thursday.
Lift your head.